I am Kay Ogden. I'm the Executive Director, CEO of Eastern Sierra Land Trust. For those of you who may not know about ESLT, we work to protect land from subdivision. We do it for wildlife corridors, for people to enjoy, and for people to go out and have peace and solace in nature. We also work through our community. If you've seen some signs, we also certified pollinator gardens for habitat. So that's another way that we work in our neighborhood. I am absolutely thrilled to be working and collaborating tonight with Terry and the Owens Valley Indian Water Commission. This is a very exciting opportunity. I just want to thank you all for embracing this. I really am so excited about the energy that this that this event has created in our community. So it's super exciting. And I just want to give a few things about the tonight's event. We are expecting a lot of people. Everybody, you're on mute right now, so we ask that you stay on mute until later. If you've got questions, please put them in the chat. If you have any tech problems, put them in the chat. Heather's going to be doing her best to keep up on all of that, as well as Kyndall. So I really just want to thank everybody for coming, and I'm going to turn it over to Terry, who is the Executive Director of the Owens Valley Indian Water Commission. And I just found out that you are co-producer of the film we're going to be seeing tonight. So thank you, Terry.
Thank you, Kay. Yeah, so I just want to welcome everybody here this evening and tell you I'm so thrilled that there's this much interest in our water story and the information that we're going to be sharing this evening. And I really want to thank Kay and Heather and others at Eastern Sierra Land Trust for reaching out to us and working with the Owens Valley Indian Water Commission and inviting us to come and share our story, with them, and collaborating with them. And I'm looking forward to future projects with Eastern Sierra Land Trust. We're in discussions of, how we can work together and get our tribal youth out on these lands, that Eastern Sierra Land Trust has been really successful in protecting and setting aside. And I appreciate their openness and welcoming us to be part of that. And I am going to really quick introduce my panel that we have this evening. I'm so thankful and fortunate to have a really good group of people that I get to work with. My board members are super dedicated to the work that they're doing and that we're doing and protecting our homelands and in our environment and working towards making a better future for ourselves and for our children and our children's children. So first I have Commissioner Paul Hewitt. He represents the Big Pine Paiute tribe of the Owens Valley, and he serves as their water operator. He's, I think, captain of the Big Pine Volunteer Fire Department. He's on the school board. He's a super busy man, but he makes time to make the Water Commission a priority, and he'll say a few words here in a little bit. And then I also want to welcome Brian Poncho. He's another really busy man. He works for our one of our really important programs on the reservation that deals with helping people with traumas and maybe violent encounters and so forth. He was recently on the Bishop Indian Tribal Council. But again, a young person that has a lot of energy and is always willing to be here and dedicate his time. And then this evening, we also have Kyndall Noah with us, who actually works for the Water Commission. He's our communication specialist and project coordinator. He does a lot. He wears a lot of different hats. And tonight, he's going to be helping us out by being our facilitator when we have the panel discussion and then a question and answer session. I'm really looking forward to your guys' questions. So like Kay said, don't be shy when we open it up. I prefer you to raise your hand and ask your question, because I like that. It feels more conversational and interactive. I mean, we're doing the best we can do right now with COVID by, having this virtual event. It would be a lot funner in person, but maybe we wouldn't get the turnout because, sometimes people can't travel. So don't be shy, raise your hand. And if you feel more comfortable putting your questions in the chat, go ahead. We're going to kind of jump back and forth, time permitting, because we don't want to keep people, past our stated time at 7:30, because I know you guys are all busy as well. So at this point, I guess real briefly, I'll turn it over to my commissioners, and then I think we're going to jump right into the film, right, Kay?
Yes, I was on mute.
Manahu, everybody. This is Brian Poncho, Commissioner for the Bishop Paiute Tribe. I just want to say thank you for giving us your time and your your ear for a short time, and I look forward to the Q&A session at the end and letting you know a little bit more about what the Water Commission is about. So thank you again. In our language, manahabu is how we say thank you. So thank you, guys.
So Manahu, my name is Paul Hewitt. I represent the Big Pine Tribe on the Owens Valley Indian Water Commission. I want to thank you all for allowing us to have this time slot and just being here in attendance. And I think we're all in the same same boat and trying to protect our ecosystem and our environment. And so I think that this is a good way to showcase what we're doing, and maybe we can collaborate and work together in some form of way. And so I'm definitely try to do bridge building. I like Terry said, I wear a lot of different hats, not only on the reservation but off the reservation, so I can try to bridge that gap of the mindsets that we used to have. And so thank you for having us, and it'd be a pleasure to hear your questions and you can see where we're going with what we have. So thank you.
Thank you. Terry, did you want to start the film?
Yeah, so I'll go ahead and start this film. It's something that was produced a few years back, so a lot of the information is still relevant, but there is some information, new information, and also some outdated statements. So we'll hopefully be able to enlighten you more when we do the facilitated discussion. So I'm going to go ahead and start the movie, and then I'll share my screen. Okay. Well, I heard the film was a little bit jumpy on your end, and I hope that you were still able to watch it well enough, and the sound came through good for you all. I think at this point, Kay, we should just move on into our discussion, and we have our facilitator, Kyndall Noah, who works for the Owens Valley Indian Water Commission. As I mentioned earlier, he'll be leading that discussion, and then we're going to open it up, raise your hand to ask questions, but we're going to get started with a few questions that Kyndall has for us.
Okay. I would like to again voice our appreciation for all you registering and participating to today's screening. This is a history that many people are unaware of, and that's a travesty. Fortunately for us, today we have 3 exceptional panelists who have add some valuable context to an already incredible, informative documentary. Hopefully that'll open up some space for some meaningful dialogue, and time permitting, we will take questions from the audience. And for my first question, this is for panelist Brian Poncho. What do you hope people, particularly those in the LA region, take away from this film?
Thinking about, watching Paya again, and every time, I've seen it a few times, and it's crazy how it never, I always think, okay, I know what's happening, I know what's going, but it still like hits me every time, being a community member here and thinking about our history and things that have happened to us, and what what I like about Paya and what I like about, even inviting us to events like this is, for many, many, many years, not just in the Owens Valley, but throughout the United States, our history has, more so been told by the non-Indian. It's been through, little things through the school systems, maybe some like local history or what have you, but it's not often that we get to tell our story from our perspective. And I love that that's something that we can do with this film and with some panels like this. And like what Harry mentioned in the video about him interviewing elders and them not knowing about the irrigation ditches. Now that we know through things like epigenetics and different studies on Holocaust survivors and different things that trauma really impacts your mind, and it's passed down through your DNA, and how you remember your history, and all these things are affected, and you have big gaps of memory and history loss, especially when you deal with things like a forced march and genocide that happened to our people. And I'm right there where I didn't hear about the ancient irrigation ditches and the systems until after Harry started doing work, and after Paya came out, and different things were kind of being discovered with the help of some allies that came into the valley to help. And it's beautiful. And I think, this documentary being from 2013 till now, and all of the education that we've done as a tribal community within ourselves to teach our kids, to teach our community members about our history, reteaching us who we are, that's been very valuable. And again, the ancient irrigation systems, I think Paiute people, along with other Great Basin tribes, are often considered nomadic. Which I don't like that word. It basically means that you move around with your food source seasonally, and you kind of have temporary shelters and things. And to me, I always feel like that word nomadic almost sounds like caveman, or like real primitive way of life. And to know that we were stationary in the Owens Valley, like Harry mentioned, utilizing those ancient irrigation systems to create an ecosystem that lasts year around, to where we didn't have to do that. It just kind of shows how much indigenous science and ingenuity we had at that time, and to even know now that the large majority of our ancient irrigation ditches still flow water, still transfer water throughout the Owens Valley for DWP. It's kind of ironic, So I know there was a question that was kind of submitted prior to this that talked about, how our ancient irrigation ditches compare to modern, and different things. And it's like, it shows you the effectiveness and the efficiency of these ancient systems if they're still being used today. So I think that's very important. For LA community members that learn our story, I want them to learn from us. I want them to learn about our story from us, and not through DWP propaganda, or some professor from UCLA who never grew up on this reservation, who never grew up in our community, never heard our oral traditions. So it's important to me that we get to tell our own story. Thanks, Kyndall.
Okay. Yeah, Brian, I really appreciate that. And I come from a tribal college university background in American Indian Studies, and this California history, it's huge, and that was often left out in my curriculum, so I was totally unaware of all the atrocities and social and environmental injustices that happened here in Paya and Adu, before I came here. So I really appreciate you adding some context to that. So for my next question, this is for Paul, for our panelist, Paul. What is your vision for Paya and Adu? What are your hopes for the land, the water, and the people?
Well, that's a great question, Kyndall. Thank you. So, the vision for Paya and Adu for me, I think it goes back from our ancestors like Wovoka. He did a ghost dance, and I'll tell this quick story. And that ghost dance went all the way to the Sioux Indians over in Pine Ridge, and so and then that's what very much, well, the Wounded Knee is kind of where that framework, but it was a dance that there's a dance that where everything would come back to the way it was before any settlers or anybody came in. Like, you know, the buffalo would roam free and all the land would be, you know, so that was a big hope. He envisioned that, and you know, and I keep that hope alive. You know, I'm the water operator, and I do these little the irrigation ditches sometimes, like our little just at my house and whatnot. And I think back, like sometimes it really feels like, what was it like to just see so much water where you had to like, oh, we're building up water over here. Let's go ahead and make a ditch and divert over here, and we could make this land flourish. And you know, it's so basically what I would like to see is, you know, the pumping stopping from DWP. We're really being pumped dramatically in the area, especially in Big Pine, because of some exempt wells for a fish spring hatchery and an actual natural fish spring, you know, well dried up. So but so my vision is that have things kind of where we can have some more land where our grandkids and our kids are playing in decent pool water and not dust. I mean, just right now, my grandson said, "Can you turn on the water so I could play in the water?" And it's a little windy up here, but I mean, it just like there's nothing flowing. Like, and we're Paya Nadu is the land of flowing water. Like, we have to kind of like take the initiative and turn this stuff on ourselves, or you know, we're doing a lot of conserving on our reservation. And you know, people, the number one question as I get is like, why are we saving so much water for it to be taken somewhere else? And you know, and I said, well, we can't be, you know, that way. You know, we got to be stewards of the land. You know, our vegetation and things are really drying up, and we're dust. Any windy day, we got dust blowing everywhere. So I just like to see it kind of go back to where before my time, you know, seeing it, of course, where it was just more green and more of the Payahunadu aspect of it. Like, why our people named it that is because it was a land of flowing water. Now it's diverted, and you know, we're unfortunate some of the irrigation ditches are still being used, but it's for like the wrong reasons, what we feel, you know. So I that's my hope, and for the people is to acquire more land. You know, Big Pine, I speak for Big Pine because, you know, we're stuck on I don't want to say stuck, but we have 279 acres for residential, commercial, and agriculture. And I think that's very limited on you know, what, you know, Terry showcased earlier, like how much land we had before, and we became, you know, in Paya, we became this Indian problem. So that's when they came up with this agreement just to throw us on these, you know, this land, and we can't go anywhere. So that's why it's my vision to help preserve this land as much as possible and bring it back to the ways, because, you know, we're on reservations. We can't just pick up and sell our house. You know, it's a different type of dynamics in that. So we're pretty much shared through and through. No, not pretty much. We are, and I just want to see it come back to as much as possible to green and not so health issue problems, breathing problems. Everybody up here is pretty much asthmatic. You know, a lot of the particulate matters that blow from the lack of groundwater and the lack of, you know, water coverage that would help sustain that. And so my goal is to try to or my vision is to help fight this fight for the people, you know, to get back what we had, you know. And it's not about money, and it's not about nothing like that. It's about, you know, having more land for our people, having more water. With land, water needs to come because, you know, water is life. So it makes sense, and we can't get either of those two without it being a big old war. So, but thank you, Kyndall, for that question.
Yeah, Paul, could you elaborate a little bit more on the reduction of groundwater pumping in the valley, you know, and how that is affecting you, Big Pine now?
Yeah, so Big Pine, I mean, we have ground monitoring wells. So there's some wells at points of times that are 80 feet down the groundwater table. So I mean, and a lot of it's because of the drastic pumping that we have south of Big Pine here in the Fish Springs area, where my family that is from, and that's why it's really sensitive to me, that area of what's going on. Like I said, it drew up a natural spring for just a few more 1,000-acre feet, but it all gets pumped and goes right back into the aqueduct for so anyways, it's a bad, we get pumped 20,000 acre feet minimum per year, which is 6.5 billion gallons of water. I mean, it's an amazing amount. And amazing in a bad way, because we're feeling the significance of that. I mean, we had to get another well because we're worried that the first well isn't drilled far enough down, and we try not to even use well water. Like I said, our people have really reduced the water usage and water consumption through the domestic water side tenfold. I think 60% water reduction we had when we installed meters too. And that showcases a lot. Like we get asked by IHS and EPA to do presentations regarding that, because tribes and all tribes pretty much feel like water, and tribal members feel like water is theirs and they shouldn't have to pay for it because this is where it comes from and we've had it before. And changing that dynamics in their thinking, it was a tremendous amount of work. So but yeah, so yeah, we're suffering. I mean, groundwater table is 80 feet down, at certain points, and the minimum, I think 50 is about the highest it gets around our area. So, so that's what we're having.
Okay, Paul, thank you for that.
And Kyndall, can I jump in real fast? I just wanted to add, as far as the vision goes, that, for me, one of the things that I wanted to point out is that, in the film, we talk about how, we weren't destitute people, living wherever. We were living by water. We were, productive people. We had some of the lands that were traded in the land exchange. When they were traded at the time, we had agriculture operations going on. We had orchards. We were growing food, our vegetables. We had a lot of highly productive areas that we were making use of. And so my vision is to be able to reclaim land and to further develop our food security and our food sovereignty programs and initiatives. I really believe, and COVID-19 taught us this a lot, that we need to look to locally sourcing our food as much as possible. Tearing out our lawns, putting in our gardens, growing our fruit trees, having our chickens in the backyard, and so I would like to see land available so that we can move towards that. We can have healthier lifestyles for our people, and also protection of our cultural resources. And Paul touched on the environmental degradation, the dust pollution problems that we have because of the groundwater pumping and the surface water diversions. And so being able to keep some of that water, or most of that water, here where it belongs in this basin, I think would really is a vision for me personally. And also we want to have stewardship of the land. There's a lot of really great agencies and entities that are out there managing the land right now, but we also believe that the tribes and our traditional ecological knowledge that we have could really benefit the lands. And we want to be able to put that knowledge to use and put our kids out on that land and just be free to go out there and with a big exclamation point, like really reduce or end groundwater pumping in our homelands. That would be my vision.
Okay, thank you, Terry. So Terry, this next question is for you. The federal government negotiated this land exchange on behalf of the tribes in the 1930s. What has it done in recent years to help resolve remaining issues?
Yeah, thank you for asking that, because I wanted to point out in the film, at the end of the film, it says that the Bureau of Indian Affairs is in negotiations with the tribes on the water rights in the land. Well, that isn't true. At the time when the film was being made, there was a half-hearted effort by the United States government to open up these water and land negotiations that started in the 1990s. But really, it wasn't to truly try to help the tribes and help the Indians achieve something. It was more like to try to, let's just deal with this and get rid of it, or make it a legacy for President Obama. And so they haven't been helpful to us over the years, from the beginning or even now. And really throughout our history, and when we've done our research to look at all the correspondence and the documents, and talk to the people that work for Department of Interior that are charged with having a trust responsibility to the tribes, their opinion and their attitude is, if there's anything that the tribes can get, then that's something. And even way back when LA was in here, when they first came into the valley and they were buying up the farms and the ranchers, the Indian agents mentality back then was that it was going to be inevitable that LA DWP, the city of Los Angeles, gets the water. So we just need to work with them and try to figure out a simple solution for the tribes, even though it isn't going to be the best solution, because the wheels are in motion and there's nothing we can do to stop them. And so the United States government, they had a real strong hand in getting the Indians to do this land exchange. And even some Indians had what was called Indian allotments. So they had possession and control over certain lands that they would later on be able to, if they held on to them, be able to sell them or develop or pass on to their children. And so those Indian agents worked with Los Angeles to convince the Indians to sell those lands. And there's all kinds of parcels throughout the valley that was sold to Los Angeles. And the sad thing is that these lands were sold, the amount of money that LA paid for these lands was oftentimes maybe a quarter, sometimes up to a half, but usually about around a quarter of what they paid non-Indian landowners. And the crazy thing was, most of the lands that the Indians had riparian water rights. They had water flowing through them. And so they were highly valued. And so just to go back to your question, I don't believe that the United States government has been helpful to us in the past or in recent years, but we are very optimistic and super hopeful with the developments in Washington, D.C., with Secretary of the Interior Deb Haaland recently being confirmed as the secretary. And I think she's going to bring a different perspective. She's an indigenous woman. She knows the things that we've been through. And so we're hopeful that there's going to be some changes there. And we're already hearing that. And so we're optimistic.
Okay, Terry, thank you for that. So, and my next question, this will be for Paul. In the film, Terry mentioned she believes issues will only be resolved in the courts. Paul, do you feel the same way, or are there other opportunities for resolving the land and water conflict?
Yeah, so that's I'm like I said before when I introduced myself, I like to build bridges. I feel that we can hopefully collaborate or work with other agencies. We really work well with a lot of agencies as it is now. I do sit on the Inyo County Water Commission, and then I a tribal member for Big Pine. So I think that definitely does help out as well on certain situations, that I can bring more information back to the tribe on what's going on outside of the tribal environment. And so I'm hopeful not, but I know that we do need some attorneys to overlook things and different things like that. But I'm pretty optimistic, that I'm hopeful we don't have to go to that. I'm hopeful that people can see that we've suffered enough, and we don't want everything, we just want some of it back. So I know that we've had some definite good supporters in the past, like Christina Noonan. When we went through the broken pipe that was on DWP land, and they were saying it's our responsibility, and so it was a big thing, and they wanted us to sign pretty much everything away, and we were like, no, we're not going to do that. And we came together as a community, and people from the city of Los Angeles, we gathered, friends from down there, and we all went to the DWP building and we met, and it was my birthday as well. It's March 21st, 2017. I'll remember that day forever. And, you know, when everybody spoke in that public comment, you know, it was pretty touching. And one of the commissioners offered, you know, to just pay for the pipe itself. And it went from there. And I think, you know, having support like that and people really feeling our struggle, you know, and that's what it is. We're a disadvantaged community. We don't got much up here and to help us, you know, be very like financially, you know, supportive of ourselves or our families. So I definitely, I'm very hopeful that they don't have to go to that, and we could just go to a negotiation with the table. Hopefully, you know, the BIA comes in, or Department of Interior will understand where we're coming from and be a little more helpful for us. So you know, we just need like team players, you know, that will help support us in any aspect we can, just like we do. Like, you know, we're really focused on this assignment for the Water Commission and trying to get back what was rightfully taken from us, you know, or get some back. And you know, we definitely support, you know, there was a question I seen that, you know, we support Long Valley. We definitely write letters of support. We do go to meetings. We you know, we're the conglomerate Mesa, you know, we're definitely in support of the you know, not that part of, we don't want anything that's going to desecrate our land and any environment around us. You know, we're so it's hard. And, you know, and then our tribe is the Big Pine Paiute tribe of the Owens Valley. So we, you know, I feel like it's not just Big Pine, it's the whole, you know. So I'm very optimistic, and I just hope that people, you know, will see through like all these legals and going to there. And, you know, I'm old fashioned, you know, a handshake meant everything, you know, and that's your word. And that's how our people were taught. And when that goes away, it's hard, you know, and it's hard on people. So hopefully we could come back to something where everybody can come into an agreement, and we don't need lawyers. But you know, it's the nowadays, and that's all you know, that's how things go. So, but that's how I'm optimistic we won't need them, because we're building, you know, we're communicating with her, we're transparent, and we're showcasing our struggles and our needs to adapt to these struggles.
Yeah, I think some of the key points that I've taken away from here is like the collaborative efforts that the Water Commission does, the outreach that we do, and also like finding them allies and champions that will, you know, help us tell our story. Okay?
Right, and I like the educational piece. You know, the Water Commission is very, we like to inform and let people know. You know, in LA, we did a lot of trips before COVID, pre-COVID. You know, to LA, we did a couple libraries, did Patagonia, you know, and I, you know, I always feel good to let people know like where their water comes from, because, you know, when you ask, where's your water come from? They were like, oh, the faucet, you know. I mean, there's so much more to it than that, you know. And so I, you know, showing these younger kids and them taking it home, going, you know, we get our water from way up there, like, you know, this is, and so yeah, I think taking it home, the kids taking it home, and us, you know, showcasing that, and it's very definitely, it brings a lot of joy to my heart to let people know, you know, where their water comes from. I you know, real quick, I lived in Sylmar, my mom. So for my 6th grade, we went down to the surface water treatment plant, which was from our water, and nobody knew, not one kid. And you know, and it's like, man, I swim in this water and different things, and they're like, what, you're crazy. I mean, it was just, nobody really knew, and it stays that way, you know, and it's been that way since, you know. So thank you, Kyndall.
Yeah, just to highlight the Brian's points, you know, I think it's key that we tell our story, you know, because that's our story, you know, because people are virtually unaware, and if we're not educated and informed on where their water comes from, then how will they know? And well, thank you for that, Paul. So
Hey, Kyndall.
yes.
Hey, this is Brian. I just got a few more points to that, because I think Paul really, you know, touched on something that's true. It's like, you know, me being a formal council member for the tribe and working on this issue with the Water Commission and continuing to work on it with the Water Commission. I mean, it's apparent to me that as much as, like Paul's saying, we don't want to litigate, we don't want to have to go that route because that's not our way. I think, from a traditional perspective, we've always been negotiators and peacekeepers, and the legal system is something that has always, been foreign to any tribe, but, along with allies, and I'm thankful that our community members are getting educated, and we have lawyers that are tribal members now. The tribe actually has lawyers on salary that are tribal members, and it's beautiful. But right now, LA is getting the water anyway. So it's like, from their perspective, there is no big push. There's no interest for them to settle anything because, for one, the tribes, we're just beginning to coordinate our history, like I mentioned before, build allies in different areas, and begin to work the political aspect of it. Because, as Paul mentioned with some of the commissioners, I mean, it's politics plays a huge role in this. I mean, look at the efforts from the folks working on the Long Valley issue and for the the mining issue that's coming up. That's all going to be fought in the public eye, and it's a political battle, which is another thing that is foreign to the tribes. But the reality is LA's getting the water now. There's no, the US government isn't pushing them to finish these agreements with the tribes and settle the water issue. We have all of these open promises that have never been filled, like what was mentioned in the documentary, and sometimes that's where the legal fight comes in, putting pressure on them to have to address us. And right now they don't have to address us. And as a council member, seeing some of the tactics from DWP, when they were getting ready to do some test drilling, up in the Bishop area, it was kind of coordinated that they were coming to the tribe and kind of lingering about talking. They wanted to talk about some things, but they also wanted to talk about land and water, and it really got the council kind of fired up. And I remember when Big Pine, our sister tribe, came out with opposition to this test drilling, and it's our duty as stewards of this land as well to jump on and support those efforts. We were in a little spot where, well, do we want to be really forceful and create a ruckus when we know DWP is talking to us about land and water right now, which is, like Terry mentioned, it's always been dangled in our face for decades. And I mean, when you don't have much, you can't help but continue to go to these meetings with optimism and hope to get somewhere. But the reality is, it's always just been a ploy. It's always been a ploy to keep us silenced and keep us not being vocal, not creating any waves in the water, and the funny thing about knowing how much water LA wastes, how much of our water goes into the ocean every year, and we talk about reduction and pumping and all of these things, and it's like, it's not like the reduction in pumping here is going to dramatically affect people's lives in LA, because a lot of water's going into the ocean. So it's just this selfish greed of really sucking us dry, and I mean, LA owning like 97% of the valley floor or whatever, like a huge large percent. It limits not only us, it limits the Bishop community, the Big Pine community, Independence, Lone Pine, all the surrounding communities from flourishing. And so it's almost like being on borrowed time, maybe, I don't know, but it's like, we are just trying to secure our future for our community, our tribal community, our kids, so our kids can grow up where their blood is mixed with the dirt. I know, like Christian belief, we come from the dirt, we come from clay. This is our clay. This is our dirt, and that's important to us.
Yeah. I appreciate that, Brian. I mean, I know earlier you was talking about generational trauma or historical trauma, and I think that's really a big thing, when we talk about, the effects that this has had on us. And so for my last question, it's for Terry. Terry, Los Angeles Mayor Garcetti released the Green New Deal for the city, including goals to reduce its reliance on purchasing imported water. That does not include Owens Valley water, which will continue to import under the new plan. Also, with the recently released draft Urban Water Management Plan in Operation Next, LAWP has no plans to reduce the amount of water imported from the Owens Valley. What are your thoughts about this and the potential impacts, good or bad, for the valley?
Thank you for that, Kyndall. Yes, so first of all, I just want to say, I'm grateful to Mayor Garcetti coming out with the Green New Deal. Looking forward to Operation Next, and some of these other initiatives that we've been wanting to see in Los Angeles, cleaning up their groundwater, capturing stormwater, recycling their water. Those are all really great things. But the problem is that in all of those plans, their goal as far as imported water is only to reduce the imported water that they actually have to purchase. So they don't necessarily refer to our Paya or Eastern Sierra water, LA Aqueduct water as imported water, if you will, because they don't have to purchase it. And so my goal and what I want to see and what I'd love everybody to be advocating for is, tell the people in Los Angeles, especially the decision makers in LADWP, that these water savings that they're realizing from putting these really great programs into place, we also need to see that reflected with the reduction of water imports from our homelands down to Los Angeles. My fear, and when I was looking at the Operation Next and going through their scoping documents, is they're looking at doing these water exchanges with Metropolitan Water District. And, I really don't want to see our water as part of those exchanges if it means it's somehow supplying other areas with our water when it should just be staying here. And there was also a few years back, and it's probably still on the table, discussions because of the groundwater sustainability law in California, that the Indian Wells Valley is in overdraft, and where are they going to get water? Where are they going to make up that water? And so there was some discussions with them possibly getting water from the Los Angeles Aqueduct. Again, we're completely opposed to that. And I know we only have a few more minutes left, so I'm trying to talk really quickly, but basically is we want to see environmental justice. We want to see Los Angeles consulting with the tribes, even up here, because what they do down there affects the tribes up here. We're disadvantaged communities up here. They need to be looking at that when they're and including us in those analysis. But really, the bottom line is let us see a reduction in the amount of water that leaves here because of your great programs that you're putting in place. And I know there was a couple of questions in the chat box, and a few people had sent some questions in ahead of time wanting to know what people can do to support the tribes and how they can help. And so I'm going to turn that question over right now to Brian and Paul. And if I feel like I need to add anything, I will. And then I think we need to wrap things up. But I wouldn't mind, if time permitting, to answer one or two questions from the audience, because I was really hoping to get that interaction with you all.
Yeah, I mean, I can say we need voices. We need the support. That's what I know. And Brian, go ahead.
I was just going to say, jump on. I know Terry put into the chat the Water Commission website. You can jump on there, and there's some resources there on how to support the tribes of the Owens Valley, as well as getting on our email list. I know Terry and Kyndall will send out information to let you know of upcoming things that are going on that involve Owens Valley water, and how you can make action and support either the tribes or just support the water usage in general. Doing that, and for the people on that are local, I just want you to know that look to the tribes as allies. I mean, I know while I sat on the tribal council, it wasn't very often that the city or the county or any local groups came to the tribe looking for support, looking to partner. And we all get stuck in our little silos, even though we're a small community. And so, looking at the tribes as allies and support, because at the end of the day, I hear it a lot, from a lot of non-Indian community members, that you truly consider this land your home, and you love this valley just like we do. And we have that connection as well. And we are all in the same fight at the end of the day, and we can all help each other and be allies. And it's not necessarily that the tribes want it all, like Paul mentioned. We don't want it all. We want to make sure our communities flourish for decades to come, just like I'm sure a lot of locals want, ranching families in other areas want their families to flourish as well. So, being an ally, supporting each other on these issues is really important. And by going to the Owens Valley Indian Water Commission website, you can really get more information on how to do that.
Yeah, so yeah, I'll caveat off that. I really appreciate that. That is what we need. And I know that it's a lot of it, like financially, we've been doing a lot of different things too. And any contribution, we are, like I said, disadvantaged community. We are, Brian, you point out a lot. We're all of our tribes are low resource tribes. We don't have much, and so any kind of contributions is nice or whatever. I'm more, like I said, supporter. Any support. I could use a quick example because I know we have a few minutes. I want to get it one question at least out from the audience. But it was like 100 people called in last year's pumping plan, and like 90 of them were from the city of Los Angeles. In agreement to the Big Pine Tribe wrote a letter regarding how much pumping will be planned throughout the whole year. They do a pumping plan for the Inyo County, and so I mean, it was just a wonderful feeling to know that there was that many supporters, and that are showing that they know the story, and they and like you said, Brian, it's so true that they love, they're in touch with this land too, and that's what a majority of them been up here, and they know what it's like. They fish up here, their family traditions of yearly fishing trips up here. I mean, these are so many things that touch. This is the gateway to a beautiful. We got the oldest living Oregon, bristle cones, however old they are, they're super old. We got a glacier, southernmost glacier. I mean, we got beautiful things, and people, we're just trying to preserve it as much as can. So, but thank you.
Yeah, I just want to add a little bit to that too. You can also follow us on social media, both Facebook. We're on Facebook and we are on Instagram. And if Terry, I guess I could turn it over to you. I mean, I don't know if we have enough time for.
Yeah, thank you. I am trying to put tomorrow, if you guys want to do something immediately, the Inyo Los Angeles Standing Committee meeting is happening at 11 a.m. and the annual operations, or LA's pumping plan for the year, is on the agenda and is going to be discussed. And so if you would like to see them, reduce the amount of water that they're proposing to pump this year from our homeland, you can join that meeting via Zoom and give public comment. I would encourage you to do so. We commented on their pumping plan. I know a lot of other people did, as well as Inyo County Water Department. But despite the objections to the amount of water that they want to pump and propose alternatives and so forth, they're sticking with what they originally planned, which is a lot of water considering that we're in a really high drought year. So there is the link for that meeting tomorrow, if you'd like to log in, and there's the password and the event number, and it's through Zoom. And like I believe it was Kyndall or Brian had mentioned, if you go to our website, there is a call to action document on there that I think at least one thing, we're a little past that deadline now, but there's some other items on there of things that you all can do as far as reaching out and really being our partners in helping to protect our environment and our homeland and our future is what we need. Kay, do we have time for like one question?
Yes. Let's go
Okay.
for it.
Who wants to raise their hand and ask a question? And then I think we'll have to wrap it up because it's almost 7:30. Well, maybe we did such a great job of answering anticipated questions.
I don't see
Maybe.
anything.
Okay, so I see Martha Davis has her hand raised.
Yeah, this has been such a fantastic presentation and discussion, and I'm curious whether or not, since you are recording it, it would be the recording would be made available to those who are interested in posting it on their web pages or sharing it with their friends as a way of helping to get the word out.
Yeah, we are recording the first part and the panel discussion. The film will not be in the recording because it is copyrighted. You can purchase it though. So we're going to send out an email tomorrow with links and resources, and you'll be able to see the recording within the next couple of days. I think on both websites, we're going to post it.
And then Chris Bubser has her hand raised.
Hi, thank you so much. This is so much helpful information. If we were to go and testify tomorrow, is there a place where you have just some concise talking points so we make sure we say the right thing?
Terry, I had a question. Did Sally send over the Big Pine comments to you to put on the Where Water Flow?
Yes, I do have that. And
Yeah.
Chris, I believe if you go to the Water Commission's page or our website, there is that call to action, and there could be I think I put in there about the standing committee meeting, and there might be some talking points. I developed that document a while back, so I'm not entirely sure, but I would certainly be happy. I put my email address in the chat. If you can shoot me an email, and I can send you some bulleted talking points regarding the pumping plan for tomorrow.
Great, thank you.
Absolutely.
And Terry, if you could, we can talk offline, but
Yes.
we could get that to everybody tomorrow morning if you'd like.
Absolutely.
Everybody, a participant tonight, we can send just in case they can pop in.
Absolutely. Yes, I will send that out to, actually, I'm going to send it to you, Kay, and then
Okay.
you have the registration list, and you guys can shoot that email over.
Perfect. Perfect. I think we have one more question. Is it, I don't want to say it incorrectly, Aida?
It's Ida, close, thank you.
Aida.
Thanks for such a great presentation. I'm in Los Angeles, and we're also dealing with this LA River master plan issue and the lack of indigenous representation there. And I know that there's a lot of linkage between Owens River Valley and the LA River and the DWP. And I just want to know if you guys had any connection or input on that, as well as would you be interested in doing like a joint event? Because I would love to. We're actually doing events in Los. I'm in part of the Los Feliz Neighborhood Council. We just did an event on the indigenous representation and also homelessness in the LA River, and we really wanted to be able to reach out to your community as well, because they're so linked, and as the movie is, and captured. So we'd love to be able to work with you all in the future too.
Thank you. I definitely welcome that invitation to work with you. And I do believe, the two rivers, even though not naturally physically connected, we are connected. And, we are doing a lot of education down in the Southland. We're working with UCLA and going to be developing educational materials for schools and colleges and universities. So we're just looking forward to that. And I would love to come down and work with you and bring our people and collaborate. And, we also work with the Tongva, the indigenous people from the Los Angeles region as well. And, I'd invite them to participate as well. But thank you for that. Ida, my email address is on the website and also in the chat box. I'd love to connect with you on that.
Great, I took it down, thanks.
Okay, and I just really want to give my heartfelt thankfulness express it to Eastern Sierra Land Trust and to Kay and to Heather and to, your board members for, wanting to work with us and include us and, help put this on and bring the, the people that came this evening. And of course, my commissioners that, dedicate so much of their time and Kyndall, I just want to thank you all and let you know, I appreciate you so much.
Thanks.
An honor.
Terry,
Thank you.
Thank you. And I just want to say that honestly, on behalf of ESLT board and staff, I want to thank you and Kyndall and Brian and Paul and your entire commission for being here tonight and for sharing this important and painful part of our history. I really, truly look forward to working together, and I know that there's more that we can do. As you've seen here just in the chat, I'm getting direct messages, I'm getting emails, I'm getting texts. People want to help. People want to see if there's a way to partner to do better. So let's keep the conversation going and see what we can do.
Thank you, Kay.
Okay, thanks guys. And again, we'll send an email tomorrow and the recording will be out there.
Thank you again.
Thank you. Thank you. Take care. Have a nice night.
Have a
Good
good
night,
evening,
everyone.
everybody.
Good night.